So Tucker Carlson's not the only person who is trying to desperately spin. Now, Tucker Carlson's up there basically saying that we have a lying press and can't believe anything they say about COVID and whatnot. But on Fox and Friends, they're not going to go that far. Steve Doocy is just too nice. He's always looking for the bright side. What was it from the message that Donald Trump gave when he came out and basically said, COVID, you can beat it. Don't worry about it. You know, the flip side of that is if you died, you were weak, 200,000 of you died, whatever. But Steve Doocy is always looking for the bright side. Here he is on Fox and Friends.
Well, you know, he did say, be careful, which is key because there are people who are vulnerable and they can't go out.
He's vulnerable.
He is vulnerable, and he got it. There's somebody in my family who was told by their doctor yesterday that if they got COVID, they would die, given the comorbidities of that person's life. And that is the fact of life. 210,000 people have died in the United States so far from this, 700 people a day. And what he did right there is the cover of the New York Post. Here it is right here. Defiant Trump removes mask after release from hospital. Face off. Well, after he did that, that just led to the outrage, which we've been hearing all along anyway.
I mean, how could, you know, like I feel like poor Steve Doocy is going to have like some type of like aneurysm. I mean, he's trying to reconcile this thing that he has a member of his family who is very vulnerable to this, who the doctor has said, taking Steve Doocy's word for it, if you get COVID, you will probably die. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, he's out there and has to professionally make a case that the president is acting responsibly. So the best he can do is say, hey, I mean, he lists 210,000 dead.
Yep.
Hundreds of new cases a day. Hundreds of new deaths a day, rather. Thousands of new cases, 50,000 new cases a day practically now. But he said, be careful. And I think we should be really thankful for that. The president really cares. He said, be careful. I mean, when he took his mask off.
Don't attack the supreme leader. You might lose your job.
I mean, honestly, I almost feel bad for Doocy. I really almost do. Like, dude, like, do we need to do a GoFundMe to pay for your kids' college so that you can go off and like live your life in a way that feels more, you know, like you're not every day? Like, I mean, can you imagine having to go in and earn your paycheck by basically saying my family member, they like have to be terrified to go out because the best the president can do is to not be careful, but then say, be careful.
Be careful.
I mean,
he's like, now, I can't believe I'm even saying this. Like Shepard Smith used to say that, you know, in his most unguarded moments, that he was doing it because he wanted to make sure that accurate information got through on Fox News, even if it was only a third of the normal audience. It was enough that they were at least getting some real news. And then he quit, of course. I feel like that's kind of, this is the Steve Doocy's moment to just infect the most brainwashed people in America, not the most brainwashed, but some of the most brainwashed, leave that to Q, with like a little bit of truth. Like, oh yes, 210,000 people did die. It's not a conspiracy. The liberal news isn't making that up. You might actually know someone. I know somebody who could be. And that's his moment. That's his service to America right now. He deserves an award for this.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
I'm joking.
But he does deserve at least, I think, some sympathy. I mean, I feel a little bit bad for him.
You're such a neo-lib, God.
What, for feeling sympathy?
You get an MSNBC show and suddenly you're like, I feel bad for the Republican. Oh, come on.
Oh, no, not the Republican, just Steve Doocy. Just Steve Doocy. We should tell you, I had this here. Right now, I think COVID is the number 3 cause of death in the country for this year. Now, of course, the year's not over, but already number 3 cause of death this year. You know, like people won't say like cancer's a joke. People don't say car crashes are a joke. But the president said careful.
Yeah.
The president said careful. Poor Steve Doocy. Poor Steve Doocy.